The Dyatlov Pass incident in Russia, which I've talked about this many times before.
Adam, now we talked about
We
that on the
did.
stream, right? That was actually going to be one of mine at first. I didn't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't do it.
But
Yeah.
the thing with the story is I think I know what happened. And I think the mystery is pretty basically solved now. However, I would still love to make a creepy ass movie about this. And essentially, here's the story, and this is a very oversimplified version of the story. A bunch of experienced backpackers in Russia decide they're going to go hiking in the middle of the snow because that's what they do. And, they're going to take a break from school and everything like that. But they've hiked a lot of mountains. They're very experienced in what they do. So they go hiking up on this pass, and suddenly they don't report in for several days. Now, at first, it's just like, there was a big snowstorm and everything like that, so they might just be running a little late. That's fine. And by the way, they prepared to be running late. But suddenly, a week passes. So finally, the family members were like, come on, we got to report in. Like, they're missing. So they send a search party out there and everything like that. And here's where the mystery begins. What they discover, buried under snow, is they discover the tent, right? They discover the tent. And here's where the first bit of mystery begins. The tent had a giant gash on the side of it. However, when they examined the gash, it was from the inside out, meaning that the people were trying to cut their way out of the tent, not something trying to cut its way into the tent. The next weird thing is they discover two of the bodies about 200 feet away, buried underneath a bunch of snow, and one of them was naked, and then one of them was missing their tongue and their eyes. And then the other ones were found underneath this ditch, buried underneath a bunch of snow. And, they showed no extraneous signs of what was happening, that something killed them. But when they autopsied them, they said it looked like they had been hit by a freight train, which makes people think that they got hit by an avalanche at some point. However, the fact that they did not show any external injuries is something to be weird. But they discover all of the bodies, and they discover why those two were naked is because the other survivors took all of their clothing and went out into the woods to find shelter for some reason. They should not have abandoned their tent. Something made them abandon their tent. And here's the other weird thing. They were radioactive. And the Russian government was extremely hush-hush about this entire event. The autopsy report that they gave back cannot be found. Or what they do find, there are a lot of marks in it that are like censorship marks, like they could not release any of the information. To this day, they will not release a lot of information about it. And I would love to see this made into some kind of a movie, a legit movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Though what I think happened to them is nothing like aliens or Bigfoot, like a lot of people were sort of speculating and stuff like that. I think the creepier thing is that the KGB were involved in some way, shape, or form. The Russian secret police. The Soviet secret police, I should say. And that's where the creepy things happen. Because there's a lot of explanations as to what happened. And there's actually a good video on YouTube that actually somebody gives their own explanation to what happened, and that's honestly what I think what happened. However, most of the explanations that have happened make sense except for one or two spots. Like they explain some things but not others. And so on and so forth. And it's really creepy because they took a camera with them, and you can see them smiling the night before they die and everything like that, just hours before they died.
Yep.
And everything like that. They were and it's a very creepy story, and I would personally love to see it made into a movie, to the point that I wrote a script for it. So
Yeah. Like, Adam, I remember when you told me, like, in the moment, I kind of thought about it a lot, and it's like, this is such a fucking mystery to it. And like, it's just when you think about it and putting yourself in their shoes, what the fuck happened? What the
Yeah,
fuck
what the
happened?
fuck happened is exactly the reaction
Yeah.
everyone has when reading about the story or listening to it. And for a while there, this was, in my humble opinion, this is still the scariest story I have ever heard, just because of how
Yeah.
unsolved it is and how brutally these people were killed. Because especially the woman who had her tongue cut out. And when they did an autopsy on her brain, it's clear that certain parts of her brain were firing, and those were the parts of pain, meaning she was alive when her tongue was cut out. And the fact that they found blood in her stomach does not surprise people because, of course, your tongue has a lot of blood going to it, and if it gets cut off, you're going to go down. Gravity's going to do its work no matter what, you know. So, but the fact that her brain looked like it had fired. It's crazy that they can tell that, by the way. That's kind of crazy that they can see that. But
Yeah.
that was really creepy. Anyways, but I remember being scared shitless about that. I was scared to go in the woods for a while. Yeah, it's one of those kind of stories.